Hi everyone, Jay here from Jade Productions, back with another video. Just making a video because finally today, after being on back order for quite some time, I ordered these literally when they came out, except for this one. I ordered it a little bit later because I wasn't ready to commit to Kharadrons at that point because I was still waiting on this book. Finally, my physical copies of my Battletomes arrive, except I'm now, these were the ones I was missing. I was able to get my hands on other ones. And this is now my Kharadron Army. Finally, my Arkanaughts came along. Probably the single worst battle line in Age of Sigmar. I look forward to cracking them open. But finally got my hands on this. Fantastic. I look forward to that. My ironclad still hasn't come along, but the ironclad should arrive eventually sometime. Chances are my lore books will arrive before my Kharadrons will. Before the rest of them. But, yeah. I figure I just do this as sort of a blog to keep you updated on my Kharadrons and how they're coming along and sort of show a sort of start to finish of building Kharadrons and the adventure of putting together an Age of Sigmar army from the start. And so this video is intended to sort of show you the thought process and deciding and putting things together and painting it and basically how I start an Age of Sigmar army from scratch.
So, when I permanently decided I was going to commit to Kharadrons and start collecting them, I sat down with a digital copy of the book and started to read through it and really plan out what I was going to go for. And then, after I had read through it, I sat down and looked at how I could buy them, and from there, I decided that unlike my previous armies, where I just sort of bought them willy-nilly, picked them up and reconverted them from old Warhammer Fantasy armies that were being sold, like the Skaven, or just bought willy-nilly, like some of the other ones, like my Seraphon. Here, it was a case of, I was going to sit down and buy these, and I'm going to buy them in a very specific order, and I'm going to buy them very efficiently to get the most out of my budget. And I'm going to buy it in such a way that I'm going to end up with a 2,000 point list, and from there I can lengthen it out and increase it to 2,500, but at 2,000 points, this is what I'm going for. This is what I'm building towards, this is what I'm buying for, that's it. And the next thing I did is I sat down and I thought about a theme, and it was, well, I want to build it within this budget, but I also want to commit to this theme that I've got in my head that's a really cool idea about a single ship called the Henrietta, and I was like, okay, we'll make that an ironclad, and I'll build around an ironclad. Ironclads are like, it's a quarter of your army in terms of cost. Okay. Well, at least that's one expensive thing I need to buy, but if I'm going to buy that, I'm not going to buy any frigates. So, from there, the theme sort of evolved to, well, what are the units that I really, really like? What can I do? And after doing a bunch of reading, I was like, okay, I can get a really efficient army by going Barak Urbaz, whose all their abilities I really liked when I read it, because it made the most of the Aether Gold ability that they had, and the Aether Gold ability gives them more efficiency through the Triumphs, which are, they can abuse those really well. So, and as I looked through that, and I'm reading and I'm putting stuff together, I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going. By going Barak Urbaz, I can actually get Battleline out of the get starting boxes, which is my number one gripe with those particular getting starting boxes, and that there's no Battleline in them. Well, now with their second edition, that's changed. With their new codex, it was okay. With their new Battletome, it was okay. I can, if I go Barak Urbaz, I can make them, I can make the gun haulers that I get in the box Battleline. Cool. Okay, gun haulers is Battleline. That sounds great. Because it's ships, it's less Arkanaughts I have to buy. And then it was, okay, well, I can also technically, if I try and go out of my way to get the Aether War, or wait until the Endrin Rigger in Drigabil suit is available separately, well, except, the last time they released a character like that, it took 12 months for them to actually release them separately. So I wasn't ready to wait on that, but he would have let me take engine riggers and sky wardens as battle line. Like, they're good, but they're not superb as the battle line. They're not the battle line option that I'm looking for. And then I looked, and it was like, okay, we've also got Arkanaughts, which lets me make out of the get starting box, it'll let me make the Thunderers, which are a very, very good unit, very underplayed, very underrated, because their special weapons are complete shit, and you should never run them with their special weapons, which is a theory I pretty much told every Kharadrons player, and they're like, no, I'm not so sure. And now I'm determined to prove that I am correct. You only ever want to run them with the Aether Shot rifles, because they are the better weapon. The basic weapon is the better weapon on them, because it's sheer volume of shots that are hitting on 3s. That's what you want. So it's like, okay, they could be battle line as well. Sweet. So I've got a couple of options here. And then, Barak Obez ended up being the one I wanted to build for the list towards, and I had it around, okay, I got in my head, like, okay, so the list's all about my ship, my ironclad, the Henrietta. It's captained by Ingvar Stoneforge, who's my admiral. He's named after a D&D dwarf character that I once played with, who my friend played, and I really love the character. We had great epic adventures. It was like, yeah, let's name him after him. Let's go full into this. Here's the captain, because I remember the Henrietta was like the name of his character's wife. It's like, yeah, that was awesome. Let's do that. It's all going to be about the ship and its crew. So from there, I was like, okay, so the gun haulers are going to protect the ship to make sure it's right. I'm going to pack the ship with Thunderers that I get from the Get Starting box. I'm going to use the Sky Wardens. I'm going to build more Sky Wardens than I am Engine Riggers. I'm going to have the Engine Riggers support the ship, and the Sky Wardens go out and take objectives. I'm going to buy a single unit of Arkanaughts, which we see I have, and a single unit for now. I know I need to get more later, in case for when I want to run the thing that will let me mix in Fire Slayers, because I actually want to give that a try at some point. Just in a narrative game, I think that'd be really fun. So that's what I want to go towards eventually at the 2,500 point mark. Using T's Fire Slayers. And as it started to come together, I was like, okay, yeah, I can do a lot. I can do most of what I want with the Get Starting boxes. I really only have to buy the Get Starting boxes to build this list, this army that I'm envisioning. And so from there, it's like, okay, that's that ticked off. And then I looked at what else I had to buy, and then from there, the list started to take shape. Now, looking at this list, what we've done is we've gone for the 2,000 points level, and we've gone with Barak Urbaz. And now this is the list that we're building towards, and at the end of this vlog series, we'll hopefully, all things be willing, take it to a event and see how it goes. So we're running with Barak Urbaz making the gun haulers battle line. In addition, the gun haulers will also, they're nice, efficient things. They'll all get a share of Aether Gold as well. And then we can, from there, it was essentially Barak Urbaz. They'll also get me more Aether Gold. Their trait about rerolling Battle Shock is not going to come up super often. Instead, the ignoring Aether Gold penalty was more important to me, and I was like, yep, I want that. And from there, it became a sort of, that's what we're going to go with. And then, their traits about manipulating Aether Gold is like, yeah, this is what I want. I want more Aether Gold. I want to make the use of these triumphs. I want to be using essentially one every phase, and I want to be getting them back potentially. So that was the number one thing there. Now, it forces me to take a relic on a ship, so it's like, okay. But I can still take that and another relic legally. So, yay. No, the idea is that I can adjust this list to run with a battalion. I'm still unsure if I'm going to run it with the battalion just yet. The idea is that I can run it with most of what I want being inside the Grundstock escort wing, which is what I want to ideally run it in. I might have to drop a few things from the list between now and then. Still going to buy all the things I intend on buying, one of every character. They just might not all be included in the competitive 2,000 point list that I'm building towards. So the list comprises of essentially 3 leaders. An Etheric Navigator, who, thanks to his abilities, I don't have to put him in my ironclad. I can just leave him in the back and just let him just continue to... mostly, I want him for making my ironclad faster, because I actually intend on encumbering my ironclad on purpose. I intend on putting more models in it so that it actually goes slower on purpose. And he will make it faster. He'll help accommodate for that with his abilities. Because he's got the Read the Winds, which lets him re-roll run and charge rolls for friendly sky vessels that are visible to the Etheric Navigator. So the idea is I can just put the Navigator on a backfield objective or just somewhere in the backfield to just negate stuff. And I don't care if he dies, so long as he's visible to my ironclad to be able to let it run. Because then I can make it run and still shoot. And, he's a pretty good character by himself in terms of damage output, I guess. Otherwise, he's not super important. He can also attempt to unbind, which was very important to me that I have a way of unbinding, since I have no wizards in this army. And then, Aether Storm is something that's, not something I'm going to worry about. So then the idea was I take my Admiral, which was going to be Ingvar. I'm always going to take him. And so I make him my General. I give him my artifact, the Proclamator Mask Hailer, which once per battle round, this General can use a command point on their War Scroll without command point being spent. And the idea is that I'd always use that on Master of the Skies. So I'm always getting... He's going to stay on the ship. He's going to stay on the ironclad the entire game. He's not supposed to leave it. If he's leaving it, it means my ironclad's been destroyed, is the intention. And the idea is that I'm always going to be running and rerolling my run rolls or teleporting away and using Master of the Skies to make sure that he can always shoot. And then using my other CP on my mark fire to let it reroll hit rolls of 1. Using the 1 CP I generate every phase, potentially having a 1 other CP. So it's going to be fairly CP hungry. Fortunately, I wanted my whole thing was I want to turn my Admiral into basically a command ability battery. His whole purpose is to give out orders to the ship. And then not really worry about giving him anything else. I did choose the command trait for Wealthy on him to give him 2 shares, because at the time, in General's Handbook 2019, when I put this together, there was the triumphs. There were more triumphs than there are in the 2021. In 2020, they've actually reduced the number of triumphs. So I'm not sure I'll actually be giving him that command trait anymore, since the idea was that he has the 2 wealthy, he has the 2 shares, so he can use the share to pop a command ability. As one of the triumphs that you could do. I'm probably going to pick a different command ability now in 2020 going forward. I'm not sure which one yet. But that's the general idea. And then taking a single Endrin Master with Endrin Harness and putting him in the ship to repair the ship. And something that I've yet to be able to find clarification on is, see, the Endrin Master. At the start of your hero phase, you can pick one friendly sky vessel within 1 inches of this model, heal 3 wounds allocated to that sky vessel. Okay, the problem with that rule is it doesn't say it can't be used inside of a garrison. Therefore, I'm assuming it can, because the garrison rules, which are a little vague, say that you're basically measuring everything from the garrison. and everything within the garrison counts as being in range, including the garrison. So, if I stick him in there, he's technically within 1 inch at the start of every hero phase, so I'm potentially regaining... So I'm always going to be able to regenerate 3 wounds on my ironclad, is how I'm reading that. And until I can find something that tells, or someone who can explain to me how that works better, because I've checked all the FAQs and my understanding of how the rules work, is that is a perfectly legal thing to do. And so I'm going to be doing it. I don't want that ironclad to die. It's like 500 points, for crying out loud. It almost costs as much as a god in Age of Sigmar. So let that sink in. Other than that, he's not really doing anything. If I can fit in the Gunstruck Escort Wing, the idea is to give him a relic, the Spell in the Bottle, which, not sure which spell just yet, but I'm definitely leaning towards a cheeky, bit of a cheeky one. Not sure which one yet. I need to buy some endless spells first. I've only got 1 or 2 that are pretty much just used by my Seraphon at this point, and I share them with T. So, yeah. It might be another one to let him deny better. We'll see. It all depends on whether or not I can fit that in. And then, of course, he can also use his command ability if I have the CP spare to make sure that my engine riggers perform better when it comes to repairing time. And then, the Behemoth. In my Behemoth slot, I took the Ironclad. Good old Ironclad is fantastic. So it's a transport. It can do its things. If there are 16 or more models in the garrison, units cannot join or leave. Yep. Half this model's move characteristic and cannot fly high. Now, that's certainly, since I want to put 17 models in it, sure, I can't fly high, which is okay. Like, I can't pick it up and just drop it anywhere on the board. It means I can't relocate as quickly. It's a cut to my mobility, and it cuts me to 4 inches, right? But the idea is that I'm going to be running it as a gunboat that's going to be moving much faster. It's always going to be running 4 plus D6 rerollable. So the idea is that it's moving up, and I'm giving it its longest range guns. And I actually want to keep, the whole idea I thought of this is, it's my gunboat. I want to actually keep it at arm's reach, rather than pick it up and put it within 12 inches straight off the bat at the start of the game. My intention is to move it up slowly and keep it just at 18 inches so I can fire all my, get it just within 18 inches of the thing I want to die, so I can just hammer that thing with lots and lots of Daka. That's the idea, to make it basically just a giant Daka battery, because I love orcs and I play orcs in 40k. And playing a shooty orc army has taught me that quantity of shots is more important, and quantity of attacks in Age of Sigmar is very important in general for certain armies. So that's all fine there. And it doesn't stop them from disengaging, which is fine, because that's, disengaging, that'd be a little broken if I couldn't disengage. So I can always be retreating and shooting. So I'm not going to be moving far. It's going to be a big, heavy gunboat. Basically, I wanted to turn it into a gunship. Like classic, just circling the battlefield very slowly, unloading lots and lots of firepower. And now there's a lot of debate between the players I spoke to when I was thinking about Kharadrons. They're all like, the cannon, or the skyhook and charging with it. And I'm like, what about the Great Volley Cannon? It's 3s and 3s -1, so it's accurate and reliable with rend. It's only 1 damage, but it's 18-inch range, so it's the same range as the Thunderers I intend on putting in it, and it's 4d6 shots. Now, sure, that's very random, and it could whiff, but that's a lot of potential Daka. And so when I'm up against those big things, I was thinking, considering I want to have things, I want to keep things at arm's reach at a 12 to 18 inch range, I definitely... And of course, actually I don't even want to keep things at a 12 inch range, because I look at its thing here, and the Aether Shock torpedoes a 24 inch range. I only want to keep things at 18 inch range, so that's just, you know... The cannon is just as reliable, but I also like the look of this better. So I at this point I'm committing to the Great Volley Cannon. My ironclad still hasn't arrived yet. Hasn't even arrived in the country, because they were sold out everywhere during this current virus pandemic, which is quite odd that it was sold out, but apparently wargamers buy lots of stuff during pandemics. Yeah, and so the next thing we have moving on into there is the Arkanaught company and our Battleline. So the Battleline is a single Arkanaught company. This is just something I intend to just leave in the back line, hold an objective, just sit on it, sit on backfield objectives in my territory, just stay there, block things from deep striking. That's it. Be a speed bump when I need you to be a speed bump, because you're practically worthless, and you're only effective in combat when you're sitting on an objective. So I might as well just leave you on one and let you get flanked. Yeah. And then 3 Grundstock gun haulers. Now the idea with the gun haulers is that I can fly high with them to get them onto objectives if I need to, so they can be objective grabbers. I can use them to screen and shield the ironclad, and they provide 18-inch and 24-inch fire with their cannons, which is what I'm going to be equipping on them. The cannons are the only things I care about. I looked at the drills, and the D3 damage in exchange for mortal wounds is not worth it. I'm pretty much always going to be firing them in shrapnel mode, so yeah. But the cannon mode will provide me some nice alternatives. I'd rather have 3d6 shots than 3 shots, but especially since I'm not prepared to be using Aether Gold to improve their accuracy whatsoever. So yeah. But that's the idea, to have 3 of those, and then they're basically the core of my army. Alongside, in my other units, 15 Grundstock Thunderers, all of which have Aether Shot rifles, except for the Sergeant, who has the double-barreled Aether Shot rifle. With these, I can use them. They're such a good unit. They're so flexible, especially when you give them the Aether Shot rifle. Their special weapons are garbage. I don't care about them. They're inaccurate. They require you to use all of them. You can't spam them anymore. You can't spam the best ones. So you can't kit a unit out for anti-monster, and then you can't kit another unit out for anti-infantry with mortars and rockets. It's like, alright, just run them all with Aether Shots. We're essentially going to get a shit ton of shots now at 18 inches, with hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s. We'll pop an Aether Gold. They're going to get 1, and then we're going to use the ability that we get from being Barak Obez to give them another one, so we get 2 rounds, potentially, of giving them, re-rolling to wound rolls. So sure, let's do that. Let's bump them up to that. They're fine to be wounding on 4s, so long as we can get a lot of hits. Let's let them re-roll 1s as well, if we can, from the Grundstock, Gunstock Escort Wing. Yeah. They're -1 rend, so, I'm going to throw them at things that got 4-up saves, and for 3-up saves, I'm going to have to dedicate cannons to actually firing at things with 3-up saves, but against everything else, the -1 is sufficient. It is sufficient anti-armor. And should they happen to have to pile out of something and get within 3 inches, I have a lot of guys, and they increase their number of shots if they're within 3 inches of an enemy unit. I'll take that. Sure, I'm going to be losing a lot more of them, but I'll take that. And not only that, they're 2 wounds. Like, they're actual dwarves with 2 wounds. And you look at the Fire Slayers, like, oh, they've all got 2 wounds across the board. These are only dwarven units. Whatever. I suspect I'm going to be losing to T's Fire Slayers a bit during the learning process. And then going with the 2 units of Sky Wardens. No special weapons on them. Just their Sky Pikes and Vulcanizer pistols. Their Vulcanizer pistols are decent pistols. They're only 9-inch range, but they're pistols. I'll deal with that. That's fine. Their Sky Pikes are 2-inch reach, 2 attacks, 4s and 3s, -1 D3 damage. Sure, they don't have great hitting power, but I'm mostly using them as screen, speed bumps, and objective grabbers. So, and pretty much also trying to use the Sky Mines and Times Charges as much as possible. They're another utility unit that I have for the army. And they're cheap at only 100 points. And then a single unit of Endrin Riggers, giving them, they've got their Aethematic Saws and their Rivet Guns, which they're very good, right? They're a very good unit. But they just don't have enough attacks with their saws, even if the saws are more reliable and there's no ways to bump the number of attacks with saws. So I'd rather just have 2 saws, keep them in reserve, basically following along my ironclad, trying to heal it, and then give them an Aethematic Volley Gun, which is going to give them also enough firepower to contribute with 24-inch range, 6 shots, 4s and 4s, and -1. Sure. Nice, versatile repair unit. That's it. That's the 2,000 point list that I'm building towards. So, it's entirely just revolving around using the gun haulers and the Sky Wardens to take objectives, while the ironclad shoots everything, and one character sits in the back line with a bunch of infantry and just guards the rear. That's it. The whole idea of the list is to definitely try and outmaneuver, kind of going back to, I kind of wanted to replicate what I used to do with my Eldar, since I first got into 40k with Eldar, which are a very mobile faction with very fast flying units that are all about jumping around the field and controlling the battlefield. I wanted to go back to that a little bit, and I wanted to try it in Age of Sigmar, and I also wanted to try, the number one reason why I wanted to commit to Kharadron in general was because in first edition they were absolute garbage, and I wanted to prove that they weren't. And then they got a new book, and now they're pretty good, but shooting is still not fantastic. They're still not fantastic. They were improved, but they're not OP. They're like mid-low tier. But I wanted to break the mold of Age of Sigmar is the game where melee is king. 40k is the game where shooting is king. And in 40k, because shooting is king, I like to go, oh, I'm just going to go melee instead. So obviously, being retarded as I am, I looked at Age of Sigmar and I said to myself, I want to run an all-shooting army in a game where you're supposed to melee. And the shooting is bad to mediocre. Some of the best shooting being a little overcosted. But I want to do it. So that's what I've gone for. And, yeah. And that's really what we're going for in this list. The next things to buy is to get some paint. Because I'm out of paint. I used it all. And start painting these up in the next vlog video. And also, hopefully my ironclad will arrive soon. It's been almost a month since I ordered it now. It's still not in the country. I talked to the guys. Certain viruses are responsible for it being delayed, so I just have to accept that. And so we'll keep this, and then the next step after the ironclad arrives is to pick up the characters. Now, what I haven't mentioned is my plan for the 2,500 point level, and that's pretty simple. The idea with that is to pick up a chemist, just because I like the chemist. I actually really like the chemist's relics. So pick up a chemist, pick up 2 more Arkanaughts squads, so I can play it in different things, and then pick up another 5 Thunderers so I can have 20 Thunderers. Just because Thunderers are just amazing. And I don't care what you say. But I actually do care what you say. So, if you have any thoughts about Kharadrons, this list, if you're a bit more experienced with them, I'm still researching them. I've only seen them played a little bit at tournaments and events. I've only seen them played a little bit online. They don't really have tournament lists get posted up because they don't really go to tournaments, a lot of the bigger ones. But if you have suggestions, please, and you just want to talk about this list, or talk about your own armies and how you plan them, how you plan your armies and how you buy them, what you do, the themes of your armies, that's really cool. I want to talk about that. So let's all get together and talk about our armies and show them off as we all work together during this these certain times to enjoy the Age of Sigmar hobby. And you can follow along those new players who are following my beginner's guide series and see how this army goes together from beginning to end now and puts this together. And now I finally have this book so I can put together my beginner's guide once I learn more about this army.
Okay, so we've cracked open these now, and we're ready to start sort of building them. And so the general idea is with these guys, I mean, they're typically just basic bodies, really. That's all they are in the Kharadrons army. They're only like 90 points, still way overcosted for what they do. Because they are very, very bad. Like, they're very bad. At least in the new edition, they've got an extra wound. So, what I'm planning to do is pretty much I'm just going to build. There's only one way you can really build them now, which is a little annoying. Before 2nd edition, before this book, in their older book, there was a case of you could give them multiples of their different special weapons. But Games Workshop has since corrected that because they only give you one of each weapon. So there's a light skyhook, yep. And then that's the sky pike, and then there it is, the volley gun. Because I only give you one of each, they basically said you can only have one of each, which is a little sucky, but it'll do. The thing is, though, because of how we plan on building this army, we're only going to need one of this very mediocre unit. So, we might as well get one. We'll pick up some others later, because I'm hoping to actually mix in some Fire Slayers and play that one, but primarily I'm going to be running with Barak as well. So, here they are, all done and built. Actually, really quickly to build, really easy to build. Took me like all of an hour. Actually, yeah, closer to, hour and a half. So, they're all ready to roll. I found myself debating halfway through about their equipment and, about the benefits of putting the special weapons on them, and like, maybe it would be better off just leaving them with nothing, since they're such, trashy throwaway units. But in the end, I decided for their points cost, you literally have to put these on it just for them to even be worth it, even though they're not great. So, basically, I don't intend on getting any more of these until I've basically done the 2,000 points level reach the 2,000 points level for the list I want to build, because the list I want to build only requires me to have 10 of these as one battle line. And then I only want to bring one as one battle line. In fact, I want to avoid bringing these battle line, but I know it's a simple fact that because these are unconditional battle line, I'm going to need to get more of them. And basically, once I've got more of them, it becomes a case of, well, once I have 3, I can then proceed to try different builds and different lists. But for now, I've got them, they're done, they're built, they're the only squad I need for the next little bit. Now I'm just going to get some hands on some contrast paint and some paints and actually paint them up now, which hopefully in the next video update they'll be underway. Decided very much, I like the color scheme of Barrack. Oh, I forget the Barrack. Barrack Zon? No. It's the one where the metal is slightly tinged in blue. But yeah. I've got to get my hands on some paints. So I'll keep you updated in this blog. And we'll go through the process of starting this Age of Sigmar Army, putting it together, and then hopefully taking it to an event. That's the dream. We're going to follow this along, be it built, get it all painted up to the 2,000 point limit, and then hopefully once quarantine is over and coronavirus is gone, I can proceed to take these guys out to a tournament and show you how they perform and how the list performs, and you can follow along on this journey. So, I've been Jay from Jade Productions, and I will see you next time.